This is episode 16 with Craig Wilkinson.
Welcome to the Quarter Life Comeback Podcast, the show that empowers you to become the hero of your life's journey. With your host, Brian Tier.
Hey, all you Quarter Life guys and girls out there. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Quarter Life Comeback, episode 16. And this week we pick up on part 2 of our interview with my mentor, Craig Wilkinson. Now, if you missed part 1, I highly encourage you to go back and check that out. That's at briantier.com/015, where we discuss the first 5 keys to excellence, what it means to be excellent, and some more great stuff. I'm sure if you've listened to it, you can agree it was a really good interview. But in this interview, we pick up on the last 5 keys to excellence. I also asked Craig the biggest challenge and opportunity for quarter lifers in today's world. He also shares some tips for finding a mentor, and you're also going to learn how to eliminate distractions that aren't serving your goals, why you need to start building a tribe to help you succeed, and how to know when to quit or when to keep going in the pursuit of your goals. As always, you can check out all the links and resources we mentioned in the show notes. That's at briantier.com/016. And I'd love to know what you thought of this episode by tweeting me at briantier. But for now, let's go check out part 2 of our interview with Craig Wilkinson.
The next thing is this issue of effectiveness, and it comes in many. It's called the Pareto principle or the 80-20 principle, and it's the principle that says that 20% of our activities produce 80% of the results. So most of us fill our lives with activities that don't really achieve what we want to achieve. You know, again, gym is such a lovely example. You go to gym and you see people sitting on a treadmill or sitting on a stationary bicycle cycling. But they've got their magazine and they're reading the magazine and they're not even breaking a sweat. You know, they're just sitting there and they spend an hour. And you think, well, that's actually not effective. That's not, You're passing time, you're doing stuff, you're doing activities, but you're not doing the activities that are really going to produce the results. So what we need to do is, in whatever we do, is we find what are those few activities that I need to do that actually produce the results. So I'll give an example in my life. One of the things I do is I run an NGO, a non-profit organization called Father a Nation, and I need to fundraise for that. And I can fill my entire day sending emails off to potential donors, and I'm busy and I'm active in it. But it's not effective. What's effective is getting in front of people. But getting in front of people takes a bit more effort, and it's out of my comfort zone. But I have to realize that, if I want to be effective, I'm going to cut out all those emails, the busyness, and get into the 20%, and that's actually phoning people and getting an appointment. So in everything we do, there is activities we can do that are, that seem to be, they keep us busy, but they're not actually producing the results we want to prove. So we need to find what works, what doesn't work. Let's do what works. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, this is a huge one for me because I'm very into minimalism, and I think minimalism is quite closely linked to 80-20. And just focusing on the few things. And I mean, I've done that in pretty much every area of my life, my diet and exercise. And we keep talking about exercise, but it's such a good analogy for other parts of life.
Yeah.
But how do we, once we've identified those few things, and I think it also comes back to FOMO, is we think if we're not doing everything, we're going to miss out on something. But if we've identified the most important things, how do we cut out those other distractions? Is it a case of tracking or?
Well, it's, first you've got to identify why do I do those other things? Because they are, as you say, they're distractions. And often you do them because they're easier to do. They're more fun to do. They make you look busy, and you are busy even though you're not achieving results. So there's a lot of reasons why you do that. But once you start achieving great results by doing the few things that really work, what it does is it frees up time to do stuff you really like to do. And so one of the key issues is to say, okay, I'm going to reward myself. I'm going to say, if I do this 20, because often the 20% the less easy to do, Like you go to the gym and you sit on the stationary bike, that's easy. But if you want to, do some serious deadlift or something, that takes a huge amount of effort. But say to yourself, right, if I do the things that are really going to produce results and start off with those things, let me reward myself with a movie or a dinner out or something that, you're really going to enjoy as a reward for doing the things that really are going to work.
Okay, cool. All right. I think that's 6 down. What's next, Craig?
Okay. So the next one is to build your tribe. We're not islands. None of us can do it all alone. And I think one of the beauties of life is realizing that, gosh, I'm gifted and talented in this, but I'm really not in that. And Brian is really gifted in that. So let me hang out with Brian. Let me network with Brian, and let the two of us collaborate on the skills that he has and I have, and let's see how we can enhance. So, this whole thing of building a tribe around you of mentors, of people that model excellence, of people that make up for the skills that you lack. And with that tribe, whether it's a formal employment issue, whether it's a relationship, whether it's just a mentoring type thing, people that actively build a tribe of people around them who are excellent and who can help them achieve excellence are going to go far further than those who try and do it in isolation.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen this in my work as well. And it's just, and the funny thing is, especially reaching out to people online, is we see people with these personal brands and whatever and platforms, and people kind of feel like they're untouchable. But generally speaking, like, people are really keen to help out, and they're just human beings at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things I love the most about this podcast is I get to speak to people doing really cool things and grow my own network too, if I'm a little bit selfish about it.
Well, it's a win-win. Excellence is always a win-win. You benefit and those around you benefit.
Yeah. Okay, Craig, I think we've got 3 left.
I think so, yeah.
Cool. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the next one is risk. You never achieve true excellence by staying in your comfort zone. You have to push the envelope a little bit. There's that thing that says that a ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what a ship is designed to be. It's designed to be out in the open ocean. And for all of us, risk is part of an excellent life. Pushing the end, pushing the comfort zone. You take a guy who's a motocross expert, or he's got to have some serious balls to push himself to the next limit where there's a risk of actually falling and breaking something. And until he does that or she does that, they're not going to achieve full excellence. And it's exactly the same in life. We're not going to achieve excellence in our comfort zone. And so we've got to break through the fear barrier, break through the comfort barrier, and push to achieve what we really want to do. The next one is perseverance or tenacity, whatever you want to call it, because excellence doesn't come easily. It requires a lot of discipline, a lot of effort, some failure, some bumping your head, and you just got to persevere. You've got to have that kind of sense of dogged determination. I'm going to make this happen. And if you do, you will proceed. I love that Forrest Gump movie. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a guy who's very ordinary in his ability but he just persevered. He just kept going. He just said, you know what, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep on going. And there's that wonderful quote that says, the race is not always to the fastest, but to those who keep on running. It's about keeping on running. Keep on pushing away until you crack it. And you're going to have failure, you're going to have disappointment, you're going to have pain, but that's okay. It's part of the deal. People who achieve excellence push through that.
Yeah, and I love when we met up in person not so long ago, you brought up that quote where the moment you feel like giving up is normally right before you succeed.
Yeah.
And I've kept that in my head. But a question I wanted to ask on this is, if someone's been slogging away and like things aren't quite happening yet, how do you tell the difference between when you should give up on something and or when to keep going at it?
It's a very good question. It's the analogy of flogging a dead horse. If you flog a dead horse, it's not going to get up and run. I think you need to. Gosh, it's a very difficult question because you don't really know. You need to be. I think this is where your tribe comes in. If you get people around you, but important to get people who want you to absolutely fly. If you ask questions of people who are slightly jealous or themselves have embraced mediocrity, they're likely to give you the naysayer answers. They're likely to say, "No, Brian, stop. Give up. It's not." Ask people who are excellent, mentors. to give you honest feedback. Is that, you just say, look, I've been doing this, and it's not working. And just get 3 or 4 people around you who love you, care for you, want you to fly, and who themselves are excellent, and say, should I persevere? And start getting some objective outside views and opinion. Because I think often we keep going with something if it's not the right thing, because we're too lazy to change, we're too scared to change, or we're in denial. So the more conscious and aware and able you are to see the truth and live in the truth and have feedback around you, the more likely you are to have an honest assessment of, is this working or is it not?
Yeah, I think looking back at the list we've covered already, I think a lot of them tie into that question I just asked, and your belief and your passion, like how badly do you really want it? And do you think you can actually achieve it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think that is a sort of a never ending struggle and question for everyone to answer. So I think it does come down to a lot of personal factors.
Yeah.
Cool, Craig. Let's bring this one home. What's the final step in, the keys to excellence?
Okay, final one, and often people start with this, but know what you want. Vision. Know where you want to go. Know what you want to achieve. You see, I think a lot of us live life by default. You kind of leave school and whatever comes up, you do. And sometimes there's merit in that, because you have to pay the bills and you have to do what you've got to do to survive. But make sure you have a plan, a vision, something you really want to achieve. And so, someone once said, if there's a why, you can put up with almost any how. You can go through a really crap job or do something, really like a paper run or something. It is like boring. But if there's a reason for it, why are you doing this? It's the guys who go to medical school and they end up washing dishes at a restaurant to pay the bills. There's a reason why I'm doing this. If you, and I think a lot of quarter lifers fall into this, they just take what comes their way. And so they live a life by default. And then before 10, 15, 20, 30 years have gone by and you think, geez, this is not the life that I signed up for or wanted to achieve. It's because you didn't know what you wanted to achieve. You didn't have a vision. And if you've got a vision, you then have a plan. And then everything you do, there's a reason. And it gives you filters too. So if you want to run a marathon, and someone keeps offering you chocolate cake and taking you out to beers late at night, you can say, what, I can't do that because I know what I want to achieve and I've got this vision in mind. You can be focused. So it helps in every area of your life to know what I want to achieve. And this is my present is based on, I'm doing stuff now because I know where I want to go. It's such a crucial aspect of this whole thing.
Yeah, I love that. And I also don't think it's ever too late if someone's already started going down the path. I know from experience, I started going down the corporate path, and I'm not saying corporate's bad. I mean, for some people, it might be what they want.
Yeah.
But I realized that wasn't my journey, and I'm
absolutely
slowly getting out of it.
Yeah, it's never too late. Yeah.
Craig, I do have a couple of questions before we wrap up. You did touch on mentors. You are someone who I consider as a personal mentor. If someone listening to this, and I know we've spoken about the importance and the power of mentorship before,
yes,
but if someone's listening to this and they're looking to find a mentor, how would you recommend they go about doing that?
Well, it's just finding someone that you respect or excels in a particular area that you want to excel and approaching them. Most people are very flattered when someone asks them to mentor them. Most people want to do that, but they've never probably been approached, or maybe they don't think they could be a mentor. So I think one has to first identify the individual and then approach them with the view that this person's probably going to be very touched and flattered to be in that situation. And thirdly, to say to yourself, well, even if they say no, or they don't have the time, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep asking people. So again, it's that determination. I want a mentor. I'm going to find a mentor, and I'm going to approach them. And it's one of those just do it's. Just find them and ask them.
Yeah, and from my side, like I never formally asked you, like, will you be my mentor? But it's just like keeping tabs on what the person's doing and adding value as well.
Very much. Well, there's an intentionality around it, isn't there? And a mentor relationship always has to be driven by the mentee. Yeah, if I want a mentor, I'm going to drive the relationship.
Yeah.
Because that's the key in learning, isn't it? Is to want to. And
and then I think another important part is like if you either you've asked or you just kind of snuck your way into it and
Yes.
someone is your mentor and they give you advice, like actually go out and take action on what they said.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, you're just wasting everyone's time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Craig, I'm keen to hear what you think is the biggest challenge and then the biggest opportunity for 20-somethings and quarter lifers today.
Well, Brian, because, from my vantage point, sort of 52, the biggest opportunity is you've got your whole life ahead of you. I mean, that's just such an incredible, awesome thing. And it's a blank slate. Obviously, the constraints that life throws at you, whether it be financial or whatever the case, but it's a blank slate. And what you do now, I love the analogy of the sights on a gun. So if you set the sights on a gun perfectly, you're going to hit the target 300 meters away. If you adjust those sights by just a few millimeters, micromillimeters, by the time it gets to the target, it can be many, many meters out. And so, quarter lifer, you're at the point in your life where you can adjust your sights, and it's going to have a massive, massive, massive impact on where you come out when you retire or later in your life. So the opportunity is phenomenal to say, right, I'm going to set my sights. I'm going to know what I want to achieve, and I'm going to take the actions now to achieve that. And put in place the habits and all those different things we talked about to achieve a life of greatness. You've got so much time to achieve greatness, and it's something not to be wasted at all.
Yeah, I love that. And a challenge?
A challenge. I think that the challenge is for me is to have a bias for action. Take action. A lot of people think, how many people do you talk to and they say, I'd love to write a book one day. Well, as an example, one day I'll write a book. And
I actually think there has been a study on that, and it was like 90% of people have at one point in their life dreamed of writing a book.
Exactly. And how many people write a book? So that's just one example. But the whole thing is to do it. Take action. Have a bias for action. Tony Robbins is probably the most successful motivational guru in the world. He says, the 4 steps of excellence. So, number 1, know what you want. Number 2, have a plan. And number 3, take massive action. I love that word, massive action. Just do it, and get momentum and go for it. Because nothing's ever going to happen if it's in your mind. You've got to translate it into doing stuff. And I think that's the challenge. Do it. You want to get fit? Go out there and do it. You want to get the supermodel? Go and ask her. Take action.
She's lonely anyway.
Yeah. She's waiting for you.
Cool, Craig. I want to be mindful of the time, but if people are listening to this and they want to find out more about what you're up to in your work, where can they do so? Welcome to email me at craig@fatheranation.co.za, or we have a website, just craigwilkinson.co.za, and they can check out. Perfect. And I'll put the links to all the show notes and resources we mentioned.
Fantastic.
Your TED Talk and your book.
Great.
And those will be at briantier.com/015 and briantier.com/016. Craig, before I get on to the final question, I'm going to bring in some EQ here.
Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge you for coming on the show today, but more than that, for being an inspiration to me and helping me a lot with my own journey. And then just sharing this message and the support for men and dads out there. I think it's awesome what you're doing. And the final question that I do have for you is, what one action can listeners take this week to start creating their quarter life comeback?
Take stock. So look at all the different areas of your life, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, all the aspects of your life that are important. And just think about where you'd like to be in those areas, and then just take an honest assessment of where you're at, and then come up with a plan to move from where you're at to where you want to be. Simple exercise. Look in the mirror, take stock, decide where you want to be, and put in plan. And in each of those areas, just choose one habit that's going to move you towards your goal in that. So we talked a lot about fitness, but one habit might be, I'm going to go for a 1 kilometer jog every day. I'm going to do 5 minutes of press, or whatever. Okay. One habit that you commit to every day in each of the areas of your life that you want to excel in, and it'll change your life.
I love it. Craig, thanks so much for coming on the Quarter Life Comeback.
Great pleasure, Brian. Yeah, and keep doing what you're doing. I mean, as much as you, and I appreciate you saying that I've been an inspiration, you're an inspiration as well. So appreciate being your friend, and thanks for this time.
And there you have it, guys. That wraps up part 2 of our interview with Craig and the last 5 keys to living a life of excellence. I really loved Craig's insights on the opportunity we have as quarter lifers today, where we have our whole lives in front of us. And if we set an aim now, it can affect the rest of our lives going forward. Really love that. So I want to ask you, what are you aiming at right now? Shoot me a tweet at Brian Tier and let me know. If you like this episode, please share it around with your friends. And as always, you can get the show notes with all the links and resources we mentioned at briantier.com/016. But till next week, keep creating your quarter life comeback.
Thanks for listening to the Quarter Life Comeback. Get started today by visiting briantier.com.